Hello guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. The Saint of War, Tensura x DxD, by Kischur Chapter 17. Sorry, for my heart is already in a prison for another. Hearing that, and the devoted voice that Hinata spoke about, Luminous couldn't help but just clicked her tongue in annoyance at having the chance to acquire such a rare beautiful specimen of a woman in front of her. And with her swordsmanship and power add on top of that, she was sure that any supernatural being would become very much attracted to her. It's why she even started to ask her out in the first place to acquire her power and body. But hearing her own heart being entranced by another, it just annoyed even further. Especially since she herself has just woken up from her own evolution, and because of that, she did whatever vampires do when being rejected by their possessed mate. I am going to beat you to a pulp and kill this being that has acquired your heart to make you mine, she announced to the woman before her, who only smiled mockingly at her, causing her to become even more irritated. See if you can. Since after all, Lord Seal is simply far too high for the likes of you to kill. With her taunt being released, the two then readied themselves for their own battle. And before anyone could intervene, the two then went about and attacked one another in such speeds that it created sonic booms around them thanks to their own speed, causing does that are far to be sent flying away without much effort. With a sword in Hinata's hand and sharp nails with Luminous, the two engage in short but intense melee with such speeds and power that none was able to intervene and help the other. But as they fought, both was able to notice the difference between the other. Luminous was obviously stronger, with her strength, speed and durability being way past the ordinary vampire king, with her having successfully evolved into a higher rank. But because of her own evolution being rushed to completion to fight this war, her level of physical capabilities wasn't up to par with the average power of her new race, with it just being slowly climbing up there now. As for Hinata on the other hand, she was weaker in terms of physical capabilities, but her own equipment on the other hand was different. Because of her own equipment being made from holy material and with it being blessed by God himself, it gave her an enhanced physical capabilities, not enough to match her opponent, but enough to somewhat create a stalemate with every blow. And then add in her own superior martial arts as well, she was able to match the vampire before her. This is ridiculous. She couldn't help but thought upon fighting the exorcist before her. I have only slept for about a few hundred years, and this is the level of power that humanity was able to attain. Wait. Could it be the other supernaturals have acquired this growth as well? Or just humanity? She couldn't help but thought, even when she needed time to acquire the average level of an ancestor because of her rushed awakening, she was still way stronger than any average vampire king class, but for there to be someone of this scale to be able to fight against her in equal footing, even if said person both has holy armor and a holy sword, it was still a great statement of power and skill. With that, Luminous then landed on the ground before gathering her aura around her legs before a burst of speed wrapped around her, with her zigzagging around Hinata while thrusting her nails before the girl, who just moved lightly around and parried each one of her blows. Seeing her attacks didn't work, Luminous then scratched her own shoulder, causing blood to spray from her wound, which would have originally fell into the ground, but with it being filled with both of her aura and mana, and with her own fist being covered by her own aura and magic with it being swirling around her pointed hand. Blood art. Bloody finger. With that, she then launched forward with her blood also flowing behind her, before forming around her hand in a whirlpool fashion, causing it acquire an appearance similar to that of a drill. It was a technique that specialized in piercing her opponents, with it being one of her more powerful techniques that even the great Arcude saw as being worthy to be copied by him. Because of that, it is a technique of great pride for her. But in front of this human, she merely scoffed, "I seen better." With that, she then slashed erratically all around her, before taking a stance with her body lowered and her rapier pointing towards the vampire before her. With that, she then rushed towards her opponent and then thrust her rapier. Tempest art. Voidless thirst. With that, both techniques then met one another, with both desired to showcase just how superior their own is compared to their own opponents. But in doing so, it caused the entire battlefield to be destroyed, with about 1,000 meters worth of land being completely destroyed, with the land itself having caved in, with large spiderweb-like design, with both castle also being destroyed because of the destruction of the ground. As for the fighters themselves, numerous too also died because of the shockwave that was released by colliding attacks, with the vampires suffering the most out of this, with the exorcist and sisters of battle being able to quickly adapt and save themselves, causing them only a few deaths compared to the vampires. But to the two duelists, the outcome was far too trivial to them to notice, with the other being very much concentrated on each other. "You're quite strong," she commented, seeing that her blade was only able to pierce her opponent's hand despite the holy effect of her sword. "You too. But still, for there to be a technique that surpassed my bloody finger. Humanity has come a long way," she commented, seeing the rapier surpassed her art, right before backing off, with Hinata then continuing her assault. Despite her attitude, Luminous was truly surprised by the technique that was released to counter her art. In a quick match such as this, her bloody finger was her strongest attack that needed almost no preparation at all, and could be deployed readily. Hinata then thrust her rapier multiple times, with Luminous parrying all of them, with her hands suffering some cuts and bruises thanks to the sharpest of her blade and its holy effect. Of course, thanks to her own level of power and combat experience, she was able to brush off the attack. Of course, she has numerous arts as well that could easily surpass her bloody finger, but most of them needed a time frame of a few seconds, while some needed extra preparation to complete as well, or famously some even needed quite a bit of sacrifice on her part to use as well. So in essence, her own bloody finger is her strongest and most reliable art she could muster in a near instant, especially on how fast they are fighting right now. Right in the air, both Luminous and Hinata flew through atmosphere in extreme speeds that matches those of lightning itself, with both of them being equal, with Luminous continuously getting stronger, while Hinata continuously getting better in arts. With that, unexpectedly Luminous then rushed towards Hinata, foregoing caution and reason, before striking at her, injuring her right arm in the process. Of course, Hinata was able to strike pierce through Luminous's stomach, causing blood to fly away from her body as a result. Good. Hearing her words, Hinata tried to quickly finish her off by slashing her body up, but it was all too late for her move. Blood art. Bloody rain. With her blood flying out of her blood, she was able to perform her most treasured art. With that, the blood around her then quickly formed into a dense orb that was the same size as a pebble. With it being filled to the brim of aura and magical energy, it then all shot towards Hinata, causing her to be blown back from the upper part of the atmosphere to the ground in just a few seconds flat. Gwack. With her being blown to the ground in such power, she was forced to spit out a bunch of blood, while also sustaining multiple petal-size holes throughout her entire body itself, with them numbering in either 10 or 13 in total. But thanks to her own high level in her enlightened stage and her own armor, the Holy Mail, she was able to survive it, with her own armor also starting to heal her and repair itself as well. Of course, it did cause her a fair bit of mana and holy energy to do so. Let's take her out now. She's weakened. This is our chance to cement our name in history. With that, numerous vampires went and tried to kill her, either from long range or in closed range. No, wait. She's still dangerous. Hold back your aggression and get out of here. And just as many also just wanted to leave this fight to their queen, not trusting their own abilities to end the Crusader. And just like they thought, Hinata only gripped her blade's handle tighter before swinging it around her, cutting down every and all vampires in the vicinity, with the only ones that survived being those that are far away enough or those that didn't even try to get closed in the first place. With that, she then looked back towards the approaching queen in front of her and then stood up valiantly before preparing for her own attack once again. With that, massive amounts of holy energy and surrounding energies as well suddenly started to gather at her blade right before being fired. Melt Strike. Melt Strike. A superior technique in the next evolution of Melt Slash itself, with Melt Strike being another level of power and range itself, with it being able to be fired off from far off distances, and with its holy, light properties, it is an attack that is light speed in nature itself. It was the ultimate exorcist technique, with it being created by Seal Tempest himself and being granted access to those that have reached the Crusader rank for the simply reason of it being far too dangerous and far too burdensome to used by a lower rank itself. But shocking all of them, and more so Hinata herself, she saw it. In the face of such an opponent, Luminous only smirked. With that, a portal was created beside her, with a sword handle sticking out of it. With that, she then without hesitation brought it out to be seen by the world itself. It was a beautiful black sword of elegant design that made even Hinata to compare it to the prize sword of her master, Seal Tempest. With that strange ping magical energy then wrapped around it, right before it was brought down and intercept the Melt Strike, Luminous first announced her technique. Valentine style. Memory and Requiem. With that, in a single slashed, Luminous cut down the entire Melt Strike itself in half, and then cut down the Crusader known as Hinata Sakaguchi. You're a powerful one. I give you that. If only you were a Saint stage human, maybe you would have matched me. But unfortunately, you weren't able to kill me in such a short time frame, allowing me to get stronger. Her current state was the result of a rush evolution in order to wake up. Because of that, she wasn't able to acquire her true power right off the bat, with her needing some time to do so. In fact, it would have taken her an entire year just for her to awaken her true power. But unfortunately for the Exorcist, her personal servants knew of this fact, and so when both fighters fought, the two quickly left the battlefield, being completely unnoticed by everyone else in their escape, with all of them being either focused on survival or the battle itself. With that, both maids quickly went towards the nearest human city itself and quickly killed the millions of humans living there, with them quickly sending it all to their master, to allow her to power herself up with such huge quantities of blood entering her veins. It was thanks to this that she was able to quickly recover and quicken her own rushed evolution into a more completed and stable form itself, allowing her to perform her most powerful art, despite the heavy sacrifice that was issued. With that she then stand up and saw beautiful blue hair with some rainbow hue within, with it also having beautiful golden eyes as well. Luminous was cut down. Seal Tempest has entered the fray. Seal entering the battlefield within Romanian changed everything. With his natural holy aura, it caused the weaker vampires to instantly be vaporized, with some only surviving because of Seal allowing them to. As for the church forces themselves, they all quickly bowed down before the sight of their leader, and with his holy aura, they all quickly was all healed up, with both stamina and fatigue being healed up as well, allowing them back to their peak. As for Hinata herself, she was able to survive because of Ciel's own natural holy energy wrapping around her and healing her wound, both physically and spiritually, allowing her to survive and fight for another day. Hinata, seeing that Ciel has entered the battlefield, couldn't help but try to bow down as well, which Ciel stopped. Your physical wounds may have healed perfectly, but your soul on the other hand is different. It is still badly damaged, so rest for now and allow me to heal it. Soul damage, as its name suggests, it is a state in where the soul itself is damaged. When that happens, multiple side effects is acquired. For one, physical and magical capabilities is lowered. Art would become near impossible to perform, and above all, a potential loss of life despite the physical wounds are all healed up. The only way for one to truly heal is for a spiritual doctor to heal the soul, something that almost none exist in the entire history of Earth itself, with even the gods of healing, medicine and the soul itself not having instinctive mastery of such an art. Making it that, Ciel himself being one of the rare talents that could perform spiritual surgery. So sorry, Master, for not eliminating her sooner. Hinata apologies for her own weakness and mistake on her part. She was far too overconfident that she could take her out to the point that she wasn't able to notice the sudden change within Luminous. To this, Ciel could only be in silent agreement with her, before stating another fact as well. It is a shame that you weren't able to kill her. But considering what you fought and with her now 90% complete, it is even more shocking that you survived all this time with a battle with her. Hearing this, Hinata could only looked on in confusion at his words, which Ciel noticed and clarified even more now. The one that you fought is named Luminous Valentine, a vampire king from about a few hundred years ago, with her hiding for the next 100 until today. In truth, even I didn't know what she was doing until I saw her now. She was undergoing an extreme evolution that would allow her to surpass vampire kind itself, with her now becoming something called a true ancestor. True ancestors, a type of being that is both similar and far too different to that of a vampire itself, with the ancestors themselves being the progenitor of the bloodsuckers. They are an immortal beings of immense power and abilities, while also having none of the weakness common throughout bloodsuckers. It's why true ancestors, a being of immense power that have abilities that are troublesome and far too powerful, while having no weaknesses at all, are treated even more seriously than even gods and dragons alike. One could even say that they're the true overlords of the world itself, with how dangerous they are, with only a few beings in the world having the capabilities to match true ancestors, while even less having the capabilities to take out one. We were lucky that she was forced to wake up. If not for that, we would have a troublesome enemy. With that, Ciel then looked at the still alive vampire before turning towards the Luminous, who has now fully recovered from her body being cut in half, and now she has reached her full evolution itself, causing the vampires to celebrate. With this you all are done. You are all so arrogant that you didn't even think of killing of our queen. All of you are finished. With this the vampire race will. Luminous then grabbed her sword and then strike at Seal with every fiber of her being in said strike, and she was cut down again in 4 pieces, with Seal remaining standing with a relaxed expression on his face, not even being bothered by the attack itself. It was a moment of action that caused the vampires to pause. They knew that Luminous was still alive, with her being a true ancestor now, and with her life force itself still remaining strong, albeit with some damage, but she was still alive. But still, seeing such overwhelming power being presented to them, even their own arrogant race couldn't help but be shocked and fearful. As for the exorcists themselves, they didn't celebrate or said or do anything. All of them just stayed silent and focused on their own mental recovery, since to them, it was expected of the new member of the Trinity to be this powerful. It's why the Church itself is so confident as well, to them, as long as Seal is with them. Victory awaits them. Even if they were to die, they would still be remembered by the being that they call the Pope. Hinata, capture Luminous and the vampires, bring them to the Vatican City core halls without harming them. With the order being made, and with Hinata's own soul being healed now, she was able to kneel before her Lord. Understood, Lord Seal, we shall do as you see fit. With that, Seal then left without making a sound. It was like he wasn't there to begin with. Something that Hinata very much knew was the truth. For after all, she herself already met the real deal, and the one that appeared before her felt far too weak to be the real Seal Tempest. It was something that most didn't know of, and everyone didn't question either, simply because of how overwhelming his display of power actually is, since after all, to them, he couldn't be even more powerful than this. But in truth, he was even more powerful than this. The core halls of the Vatican City itself is home to the saints of the Church itself and the angels that decided to visit the earth, making it be the only way for humans to be able to safely and legally go up to heaven itself. Because of this point, it is also heavily fortified with numerous magical and scientific tools and equipment to stop anyone from accessing the gate itself, but more than that, it was also being actively protected by the saints of the Church, making it be the most defendable part of Vatican City. And right, in the room that was called the seat of the divine foresight, there sat the leader of the Church, Seal Tempest, with him being surrounded by a divine aura itself that is mostly seen within gods and Buddhas themselves. So I was right. There was a rank even higher than Saint, Seal couldn't help but say. It wasn't a confirmation if it's true, but an instinct that is telling to get stronger and continue down his current path, and he was even more sure when he knew that this instinct was the same as when he evolved into enlightened and then Saint itself. Because of this, Seal could only stand up from his seat to then go to the middle of the room itself. With him then activated a magic circle that existed in the middle of said room, causing a spherical shape object made out of water to come out. With it then transforming into the very world itself, with it highlighting every supernaturals in the world, allowing him to see what everyone is up to, not just in Earth but all over the dimensions itself, be it heaven, hell, the underworld, Olympus, the Norse realms and everything else as well as knowable in this little device that he created. Argos, a magical technique that he created to create this water orb in front of him, by connecting to the water particles throughout the dimension. All Seal is able to project a mirror image of the world itself. Because of this magic, he is now able to watch not just the Earth and its dimensions, but entirely different planets as well, with him now being able to see planets like Mars and Venus, with the others needing time to reach, with the expansion of Argos just getting started. I will win, and free humanity from the grip of the supernatural and allow them to fully prosper in both worlds. That was the vow he took, and he would accomplish his goals up until the very end.